As most, if not all of you know, we have this wonderful tradition at County College of Morris of formally presenting the candidates for graduation. We do still go through the process of certifying that all of the students who will go across the stage next Thursday will have been cleared for graduation, that their honors designations are correct and so forth. It's been a bit of a challenge this year because the person who normally does that has been engaged in a very large trial, and I understand that the prosecution only rested the day before yesterday. So it's been a real challenge for the registrar's office to go through this process, but once again they've risen to the occasion, and we can proceed as usual. And so it is now my pleasure to introduce the person who will serve as Grand Marshal on Thursday the 23rd, and to present the graduates, and that's Professor Bonnie Murphy. Professor Murphy.
Good morning, everyone. As a CCM graduate, this honor and assignment are very, very special for me, so I really appreciate the opportunity. President Yaw, it is my pleasure on behalf of the faculty to present the candidates who have completed all requirements for an associate's degree and upon whom the degree is to be conferred at the County College of Morris Commencement exercises Thursday, May 23rd, 2013. The candidates are here listed, and I submit them to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Well, these are exciting times in many, many ways. I wanted to start this morning, if you don't mind, on a sort of a personal note. As most of you know, many of you know, perhaps all of you know, I had the great pleasure of spending a couple of weeks in Russia a few weeks ago under the Fulbright program. Fulbright has a special program for community college administrators. They call it the Community College Administrators Seminar. This was about the 5th year that they've run the program, and I was fortunate enough to have been selected to be one of 5 people who spent 2 weeks in Russia. We were from all over the United States. The president of Broward College from Fort Lauderdale, Florida, was part of the group. Vice Chancellor for Student Success at Alamo College in San Antonio, Texas, was part of the program. Dean for Technical Education from California, De Anza College in Cupertino, was part of the program. And finally, President of Minnesota West Community Colleges, 9 colleges in southwest Minnesota, was also part of the program. We spent 2 weeks in Russia. We probably visited 10 or 12 different colleges and universities, very different from each other and very different from here in many respects. Just a couple of observations. One of the things that really jumped out at all of us was the inaccessibility of their campuses to students with disabilities. I don't think, if I saw one ramp in the 10 or 12 colleges we visited, it was a lot. And many of the campuses were in somewhat in disrepair. I would say their technology in the classroom was nothing compared to what we've seen here, with a couple of exceptions. We did see some very advanced institutions as well. I was kind of excited, just as an aside, that they had we're always very proud of our 3D printer. They had a 3D scanner, and I said, boy, I can't believe that our faculty don't know about that. And so when I got back, I mentioned it to Dean Enright, and he said, oh, we have one of those. So I guess I need to pay more attention to what comes through the doors. But but that was pretty rare, actually. But it was a wonderful experience, and in addition to visiting college and universities, we were able to do some cultural things, visit the Kremlin in Kazan, and in Moscow and Red Square and so forth, and I was able to go to the Bolshoi twice, once for an opera, once for a ballet. So it really had a fabulous experience. And out of that, we're hoping that we will be developing some partnerships with institutions in Russia. I'm working on two actually at the moment. Both of those institutions happen to be in Kazan. Frankly, I had never heard of Kazan before this trip, but it's known as the third capital of Russia after Moscow and St. Petersburg, and it's also the sport capital, they claim, of Russia. In fact, they're having a major athletic event there this summer in June. They call the Universiade, which will bring college and university students from all over the world for competitions in many different sports in Kazan. So that's something you'll hear more about, I'm sure. And of course, they're also having their Russian, the Olympics will be held in Russia, the Winter Olympics next winter. But that'll be in Sochi, which is in the southern part of the country. But it was a wonderful experience, and in addition to the partnerships with Russian institutions, also be looking at the possibility of partnering in some respects with some of my colleagues that I met on the trip, particularly Broward College in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. We talked about a number of things that we might try to do together, and also the institution in Texas. So more about that later, but I did want to share that very brief personal note with you as well. As is my custom, I like to give you the latest update on enrollment for the summer and for the fall. And I can tell you, and many of you know this already, that as far as the summer is concerned, it's a little bit of a mixed picture. But overall, we're down about 1% in student headcount enrollment for summer sessions, all of our summer sessions. But we are plus 8% for summer session one. So those of you who are trying to schedule classes and so forth know that many of the sections are closed at this point, and trying to scramble. And of course, we will be starting those classes next Monday. As far as the fall's concerned, we started out fairly slow, but right now we're about 4% behind where we were last year. So again, I know admissions and other folks are working hard to maximize our enrollment. As far as our facilities are concerned, lots of activity going on, and there promises to be a lot more activity as well. First of all, as far as the solar panel project is concerned, we're not quite there yet, but we're getting very close. There are a few punch list items that are being worked on. The main thing we're waiting for right now is for JCP&L to schedule to come out to do a final inspection and to then have us turn on the system. So as soon as we can get on their calendar, and trust me, we've been trying for weeks to do that, we will be able to start producing our own electricity, and so we're very excited about that. The library renovation project is moving along. We're in the process of demolishing, doing the demolition for that, the interior of that building, except for the media center, of course. And the library staff has moved very nicely over to 675 Route 10. And recently, Heather Craven reported in our Administrative Council meeting that the student usage of the library is almost exactly the same as it was last year when we were in the original building. So students are using it, faculty not so much, but I know that when necessary you will find your ways over there. But we're also pretty much completed with the pathway that's going to lead to the 675 Route 10. It's been compacted, and railings have been put up, and so we're in pretty good shape as far as that's concerned. We did have a meeting last week with the Department of Transportation and representatives from Randolph and the legislative offices of Assemblyman Anthony Bucco to talk about our desire to create a direct access from Route 10 to the campus. And there seemed to be universal support of that concept. not universal agreement about how it should be paid for, but universal acceptance of the concept. And we were told that the Department of Transportation would work with us and expedite the process of applying for that direct access. I'm confident we'll work out the financial arrangements as we go along. But as it happens, Department of Transportation is planning to do a complete repaving of Route 10 in that vicinity next year in 2014. So our timing is pretty good on that. Among other things, we want to make sure that we're coordinated in that effort. So that will go on. And speaking of paving, as I've said to you before, there will be a major paving project taking place on the campus this summer. We'll be repaving all of the roadways and walkways on campus, and the potholes will finally be gone. I wanted to give you the latest update on the bond issue. Again, I thank all of you for efforts that you made to talk to your family, friends, and neighbors to support that bond issue. Its support was really unprecedented. 63% of the voters in New Jersey supported that bond issue. And we have submitted our proposals for our share of the projects, and I'm delighted to report that the two proposals we submitted were included in the final list submitted to the legislature, and they have a few days to review that entire list. But for all intents and purposes, we can say that our projects have been approved. It'll be a total of $10 million. It's $7.5 million from the state and $2.5 from the county, which they have already included in their capital budget for next year. The two projects, again, are complete renovations of our laboratories for mechanical and electrical engineering technology, and also a wing to this building, which will house the music program. We're calling it the Music Technology Building. It will include the long-needed, I still call it the Black Box Theater. We've called it the Laboratory Theater. There may be some other names that are floating around, but it's a very flexible space that can be adjacent to this facility. But even more importantly, new dressing rooms, which are badly needed, scene shop, costume storage, and then the music recording studios will be included here, as well as faculty offices for the faculty, practice rooms, and so forth. It's about a 21,000 square foot addition to this building, which will be very exciting. And of course, that will, in moving the music department over here, will open up a considerable amount of space in DeMere Hall, which then we will look at other uses, general purpose classrooms and other departments that are in need of space as well. So it really is a tremendous opportunity for us. But in addition to that, the Board of School Estimate, which represents the county freeholders and the trustees, also just recently approved a $4 million Chapter 12 project for us. Actually, there are two projects. One is going to be the HVAC systems for this building, which was not included when we did the renovations a few years ago, and a major renovation of the Health and Physical Education building, which is the last of the original buildings that we haven't had an opportunity to make major renovations on. So that's very exciting as well. In addition, we were very successful with other projects that we submitted for the other funding opportunities from the state. There's a program called the Higher Education Facilities Trust Fund, which is a no-match fund. We submitted and were approved for $1.2 million, which will provide an opportunity for renovating our laboratories in biology, chemistry, and physics. We also had the Equipment Leasing Fund program, which we submitted $1.2 million in equipment. And again, thanks to the department chairs and program coordinators who submitted your lists. What we asked for was granted, so we're looking forward to that. And that, in addition to a nice increase in Perkins funding for next year, we should be in really good shape as far as our equipment needs are concerned. And then finally, there's a technology infrastructure fund that we submitted a $172,000 project to increase and enhance our communications, telecommunications, and computing on campus, which, among other things, will make a direct connection to 675 Route 10, which in turn, through some technological magic, will increase our bandwidth for internet access and so forth. So many exciting things will be happening over the next several months. I wanted to, we decided this year, rather than having a parade of vice presidents come up and make presentations to you, that maybe it would be more expeditious if I tried to summarize some of the highlights from the various divisions. So I'd like to do that now, if you would indulge me a moment. What I wanted to mention was that we have now completed our first year of the AAC&U grant on diversity and civic engagement. We appreciate the leadership of Professors Shenham, DiMatteo, Jones, Guarnerio, and Lee and Hart in that effort. Very exciting project, and I know we're going to be hearing more about it in the coming months. Also, the English and Math department have made tremendous progress in revisions to their developmental education courses, and we can now demonstrate improvement in student success in those critical courses. Of course, we approved 2 new associate degree programs this year, one in culinary arts and science, and the other in computer science. So we're excited about that. And then finally, the integration of information literacy and ethical reasoning and action learning outcomes into selected general education courses was also a major initiative that was accomplished during this past year. Moving on to the Student Development Division, again, many accomplishments there. We will be re-energizing the Strategic Enrollment Management Plan. We'll begin working on that this summer, and we'll be going into full gear in the fall. We will be looking for volunteers from faculty and staff who want to become directly engaged in this effort. And certainly, if any of you have a strong interest in that, I encourage you to reach out to Dr. Betty Simmons. The Developmental Education Testing Initiative, where we go into the high schools and provide the AccuPlacer test, has continued to grow. In fact, it's grown way beyond our best expectations, to the point where we can no longer accommodate all the schools who have heard about this and would like us to do it. But we did add Morristown High School and Madison High School this year, which are 2 critical schools for us. And very pleased that after working with Mount Olive High School for so long, they've actually used the test results that we've shared with them to revise their curriculum in mathematics, algebra, and English courses to, again, prepare their students better for their taking of this AccuPlacer test. I think in terms of campus life and student leadership, Student Government Association this year was particularly active and engaged in many very positive projects, raising funds, raising awareness on issues, having conversations about the solar panel project, about immigration. I think they've done a marvelous job and are provided a good model for future students to follow as well. In terms of intercollegiate athletics, we have 10 intercollegiate teams. 9 of them actually qualified for postseason play, and our women's softball team actually won the Garden State Athletic Conference tournament, or won the championship. They didn't win the tournament. That was a disappointment. Office of Counseling and Student Success, there's been some personnel changes there, and they're ready to launch some new initiatives, which you'll hear more about in the fall. But I did want to share with you that they had initiated a project that they call Project Success, where they identify and reach out specifically to students who have been placed on probation. And through their efforts, 85% of the students who were invited to participate avoided being academically dismissed, so that we were able to keep them enrolled in school, hopefully making good academic progress and contributing to their ultimate success. And then finally, the Office of Career Services has done a number of things, including putting a new link on their website, which asks the questions that many parents ask: what can I do, or what can you do with a major in that? And so there's a link that they can go to which will give them some specific ideas of the kinds of careers that might be associated with various curricula, the kinds of companies, the kinds of positions, and so forth. So it should be a very useful tool. I invite you to look at it because you may, through your own experience, be able to identify some other careers or other job opportunities that could exist for your particular majors. And of course, student success is the major driver of our strategic plan and something that we focus on quite a bit. And one of the factors that we look at is student satisfaction. The Career Services Department, again, as they have done for many years now, conduct an annual survey of our graduates, and they make telephone calls and get really very, very good response from our students. And they look at overall satisfaction with the college, preparation for transfer, and preparation for work. And again, with a very large sample, they've got 99% of the students, former students, said that they were very pleased or felt that their preparation was good to excellent. And so we're very proud of that. And the Council of County Colleges, through the Institutional Research Officers subgroup, which, by the way, is going to be chaired next year by our new Director of Institutional Research, Phoebe LeKay, are developing a new model for success, which includes not only graduation rates that we focus on, but also the number of students who successfully transfer after completing significant work at the community colleges, and students who complete a certain number of credits successfully. And so that model is now being tested, and we'll be looking at our own data to see how we look and to use that again longitudinally so we can look at our progress as we move forward. One of the factors in that, as I mentioned, is the transfer rate, and some data was recently produced that showed that suggested that CCM has the highest transfer rate of all the community colleges in the state of New Jersey. Our graduation rate isn't the highest. It is one of the highest, but our transfer rate is the highest, and so therefore our overall success rate would be among the highest, if not the highest as well. The student clubs have been very active. Actually, they've started their own YouTube channel. You might want to check it out. There are links to it on the website. Various student organizations, including the Film Club, have put up some very interesting videos on that YouTube channel. One of the exciting things this year was in the nursing area. As you may know, every year the students who graduate from our nursing program are eligible to take the NCLEX examination, a state exam which they need to pass in order to become registered nurses. And at the pinning ceremony, which I think is tomorrow night for this year, I always challenge the students to prepare together for that exam. If they all pass, that I would take them to lunch. And so last year at this time, I made that challenge, and I think we had 85 students take the test and 84 passed. So it was 99 point something % pass rate. But there's a provision that we're not sure that one person who didn't pass was part of that graduating class or not. Maybe we do by now, but at the time we weren't sure. And we know that person was not part of that class. So we now say confidently that we had a 100% pass rate from that particular class. And we did have lunch, and it was wonderful. I think it was wonderful for the students to be able to reconnect with each other, to catch up with each other, even do some networking. And so I'll be making that challenge again tomorrow night, and hopefully we'll have lunch again next year. That would be a very good thing. And finally, on an individual level, I think most of you know, or many of you know, that one of our students, Sean Moore, was successfully selected to be a Jack Kent Cook Scholar. He's one of 73 students nationwide to get this very prestigious scholarship. He has a compelling personal story, but obviously did very well here. In fact, he told me yesterday he got, again, another 4.0 this semester. So Sean is one of 73 students. That's a scholarship that's worth up to $30,000 a year for him to complete his baccalaureate degree. And then if he continues to do well, he can even qualify for some scholarships for graduate study as well. So we're very proud of Sean, and he does represent us very well. We've talked a lot in these meetings about the periodic review report. Again, I want to thank Dr. Smith for his leadership and stewardship for this very important project. It's now complete. Dr. Smith will be making an executive summary report to the Board of Trustees at their meeting tonight, and then we will be sending this very fine report off to the Middle States Association. Moving on to advancement and planning, we had a very successful gala this year. We netted for the first time over $100,000. This goes to our scholarship programs, and a lot of people worked very hard to make that happen. We're also making good progress on the Media Center campaign. Not good enough for my liking, but we're getting there. We've, through grants and donations and pledges and so forth, we're now at about over $850,000 for about a $2 million project. And so we'll continue to work on that. By the way, some of the equipment through that equipment leasing fund will be for that program, including some 3D equipment as well. So there's going to be a lot of exciting things happening there. I also wanted to acknowledge, and although not many are here, but the Adjunct Faculty Association has also been a major contributor to our foundation. They've actually established 3 endowed scholarships, and we're very grateful to them for that leadership. I also wanted to acknowledge one more time Peter McGuire for his leadership with the Peace Prize. We will be awarding that prize again this year at commencement. We had some very interesting and unique presentations and submissions, and we'll be happy to share that with you at commencement. As far as state issues are concerned, the state is still negotiating with the governor's office on the budget. The governor has recommended pretty much flat funding for all of higher education. It's portrayed as flat funding for the community colleges, but we've discovered in looking more deeply into the details that it's really not flat funding for the community colleges. It's about a $3.7 million cut because of a way that they're funding fringe benefits for adjunct faculty. So we're in the middle right now of negotiating and lobbying our legislators to try to restore that $3.75 million. If that's not restored, the effect on us would be about a $200,000 cut in our state funding for the coming year. But we're somewhat hopeful that we'll be able to persuade the legislators to restore that funding, and communicating with the governor's office, who has not told us not to pursue this. So I think that if it's restored, I don't think the governor's going to redline that particular aspect of it. The other thing that we're watching very carefully is the student health insurance legislation, which finally has been passed by both the Senate and the Assembly as of yesterday, and is now on the governor's desk. This would mean that we don't have to verify the fact that students have student health insurance before they can enroll, which has been a real burden. But more importantly, if we had to continue to do that, the type of health care we have to provide them would be prohibitively expensive. In some cases, they might have to pay more for their health care insurance than what they pay for tuition. So this is something that we've been working very hard to remedy, and it appears that a remedy is in sight. And then the final legislative issue that we've been watching very carefully is legislation that would provide the opportunity for community colleges to offer the baccalaureate degree in nursing, the BSN degree. There's a very long story, much too long to go into here, about why this is being proposed and what's happening in the healthcare industry and in the hospitals in particular. But that is legislation that is moving its way slowly through the legislature. I wanted to make a few comments on campus safety, which continues to be a major issue on this and probably every campus across the country. We did have the active shooter forum, which unfortunately took place when I was out of the country, so I wasn't able to attend personally. I have had reports, and frankly, it's gotten mixed reviews. But I think it has identified, again, some of the issues that we need to continue to pay attention to. We'll be following that up with some tabletop work with local law enforcement agencies, and also a live exercise, hopefully sometime in the fall. We're working again with outside agencies to do that. There is a quick update on the lock situation. I've talked before about a device that we found that looked very promising, that could slip under the door and be locked easily by faculty in their classrooms. It turns out that that company has been given a cease and desist order, and they no longer can produce that device. And so we go to Plan B. I know that has multiple meanings, but anyway. But what we are going to be doing, there are about 15 classrooms on campus that don't have any locks. So in the next few weeks, we will be putting locks on all of those doors. We're also going to be getting rid of the core key lock system, that flat device that drives me nuts and anybody else. Yes, I knew you'd all be disappointed to hear that. So they will all be replaced, and we're pretty confident that by the beginning of the fall term, that all the classrooms in particular will have locks on them, locks that can be locked from the inside. I know that many faculty had some concerns about that. So I'll be sending out an email to everybody later this week summarizing some of that, but I wanted to share it with you here in person as well. As is our tradition, we like to acknowledge people who are retiring from the college, and we have many retirees this year, including faculty and staff and professional staff, some of whom have already left the campus. Margaret Williams in mathematics, for example, Joan Monahan in mathematics, Ken Craven in engineering, and then still on campus, and I didn't see Sharon Kapika. I saw her yesterday. She is here, okay. Sharon Kapika, of course, longtime chair of our chemistry and then chemistry and biology departments, and longtime chair for every year except I think one of our safety committee. We acknowledged her yesterday at the College Council, and certainly wish her the best in her retirement with her family and her grandchildren. Also retiring from the biology department is Joe Mealy, and I promised Joe I wouldn't embarrass him too much tonight. He let me know that he was sufficiently embarrassed by Professor Hunter, I think, at the little roast they had for him. But Joe has been a long time faculty member in biology, particularly in environmental science, and I always tease him about the sandbox that we built for him in the Sheffield Hall, which is a wonderful laboratory for our students. Also retiring from our professional staff, Claire Andrews, Linda Matz from the Case Department, Chuck Sokolsky, our former Director of Institutional Research, and Arlene Cervenka from CPP. Also from our staff, Floyd Beebe, groundskeeper, Ron Prentice, Jr., some of us remember Ron Prentice, Sr., maintenance systems coordinator, Tom Mann from Technical Support Information Systems, Joyce Havel from Financial Aid, Elizabeth Hazelton from Admissions, William Yarlaski, custodian, Richard Smith, security, Roxanne Smith from Communications and Community Relations, Christine DeGiuseppe, sociology, Ed Connolly, printing, Sandra Warman, campus life. And then still here, but will be leaving at the end of the semester, Kathleen Ferguson from the library, and Mona Whitman from the Women's Center. So let's have a round of applause for all those people who have retired. Now, we will have commencement next Thursday. Looking forward to that. It promises to be another delightful event. We will be taking some extra security precautions this year at commencement, both before and during the ceremony. You may not all realize it, but we also stream our commencement live. And in the last couple of years, we've had families from all over the world watching our commencement as their students, as their family members go across the stage. So that's a wonderful service. Chile, I'm not going to be able to remember all the countries, but it's a pretty impressive list of countries that watch our commencement around the world. And of course, this year we will be acknowledging two members of the faculty who will be designated faculty emerita, and they are, of course, Joan Monahan from the mathematics department. And by the way, I know you all want to attend her last lecture. Of course, she's now Joan Monahan Gebhardt, and of course, Bob gave the last lecture last year, so that'll be fun. And of course, Jan Marie Trainer, who's been so instrumental in developing our programs in landscape and horticulture technology, but also been a real leader among the faculty, particularly in the use of new technology. So two very worthy individuals will be recognized in that way at commencement. So, thank you. So hopefully I haven't stolen too much of his thunder, but I would now like to introduce Dr. Dwight Smith, our Vice President of Academic Affairs, who will take us through the rest of today's program. Thank you very much.
Good morning. I have the privilege to recognize the following faculty, and I ask when I read their names if they would please stand if they're in attendance, and for all of us to show our congratulations to them with a round of applause. Professor Emerita already mentioned Joan Monahan in mathematics, and Joan will be providing the last lecture tomorrow at 10:15 in Sheffield Hall 100, so I encourage you to attend. And Jan Marie Trainer, Landscape and Horticulture Technology, will be recognized at commencement for this accomplishment. Promoted to professor, Dr. Jose Bevia. Is he here? I do know he does have a performance of his piece at Columbia University, I believe, this week, so I'm sure he's preparing for that. Steve Longo, professor. And Mark Cosgrove, professor. Promoted to associate professor, Nancy Banowski. Nancy. Cynthia Cross. Mimi Purcell. Dr. Marcia Pacayo. And Professor M. Celeste Wayne. Tenure, Michelle Altieri. Dr. John Berger. Anthony DeStasio. James Hart. Dr. Maria Saza. Dr. Matt Jones. Dr. Michael Paul. And Dr. Kenneth Schuler. Sabbatical leaves for next year, Nancy Banowski in fall of 2013, who is going to be working on development of apps for our phones. And Sandy Zuloff, who will be working on, here he is. We look forward to his book that he's working on for poetry. And then the President has already mentioned several faculty that have retired this year that I do want to acknowledge, two of whom retired last fall, Professor Joan Monahan and Professor Ken Craven, and then, of course, Professor Sharon Kapika and Dr. Joseph Mealy. So if we can recognize them again. Just thinking about the number of years of service, I think we're losing over about 150 years of institutional commitment and service. And if you think about the number of students that they've taught over those many years, we do thank you for your contributions to the learning of our students. I want to move on to talk about Professional Day and introduce a guest who will have a session immediately following this one on course portfolio, and that's Dr. Amy Goodhart, who's Associate Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs at University of Nebraska-Lincoln. Dr. Goodhart. A little bit about her. She, as I said, is at University of Nebraska-Lincoln as Professor of English. She has served as co-coordinator for 11 years, from 2001 to 2012, in University of Nebraska-Lincoln's peer review project. Out of that effort, she's written several books about the scholarship and teaching learning. One, the most recent one, about rewriting success in rhetoric and composition careers. Another about inquiry into the college classroom, a journey toward scholarly teaching. She co-authored with Paul Savory and Amy Burnett. And then Making Teaching and Learning Visible, Peer Review and Course Portfolios with Dan Bernstein, Paul Savory, and Amy Burnett. So we look forward, and I invite you to her session at 10:45 in Henderson 113, where she'll talk about what is a course portfolio and how it benefits the work of faculty in terms of documenting their teaching effectiveness and reflecting upon student learning. She is also going to provide a workshop this afternoon for our CT faculty fellows, several of whom are working on the AAC&U project about civic engagement and diversity, and each of them are developing some new initiative within their course that we're excited about, and you'll hear more from them a year from now. There's two others, CT fellows from engineering, who are doing some work in documenting learning outcomes within the engineering curriculum to address ABET accreditation requirements. So we look forward and thank Amy for her visit and sharing her time and expertise with our faculty. Also this afternoon, we're going to have some general education professional development sessions. I encourage you, Dr. Philip Chase, attend his session because he's going to share the assessment research paper results for English 112. As you know, that's our composition course where we introduce and prepare students to begin to develop research papers that they will use those skills in many of your courses. He will be talking about the rubric that the English department has developed to assess the quality of writing of research papers. Dr. Matt Jones is going to talk about the speech communication rubric that has been developed for the public speaking course. And then Professor Bonnie Murphy is going to talk about information literacy assessment results. And Dr. Janet Eber is going to talk about the ethical reasoning and action assessment results. So I encourage you to consider attending those. That would conclude today's activities, and tomorrow we start off with a chairperson's meeting and then several other professional development sessions focusing on technology. We're looking at the flip model for hybrid courses that will be offered in Henderson 113, and also effective practices for online courses to meet middle state requirements. As President Yaw mentioned, we submitted a periodic review report to middle states, be shared with the board tonight and will be submitted tomorrow. But the U.S. Department of Education has asked all regional accrediting bodies to expect institutions to verify several requirements, one of which has to do with verification of credit and in online or hybrid courses. And a group of faculty this past spring has worked to develop a definition of how faculty should address instructional time in online and hybrid courses. So Shelley Curlin and Professor Celeste Wayne will be sharing the results of that work. Of course, do plan on coming to hear Professor Joan Monahan at the last lecture. She'll be the fourth one. This is opportunity for her to share her insights of her career and offer us her thoughts and advice of how we can move forward. Tomorrow there will be a FACM meeting luncheon, Sheffield Hall 100. During that time, division lunches for staff will occur, and those are listed in the agenda. And then division meetings from 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock, and that will conclude the professional day activities. I do want to mention, and failed to mention, there is a picnic in this building. It is inside. You never know what the weather is going to be like. But I do invite you back for that, starting at noon. To recognize your work and also to continue the conversations you started this morning. So I look forward to your participation in these events and to join Dr. Goodburn in her presentation about course portfolio and join your other colleagues to hear what is going on in general education and in distance ed. Thank you for your attendance this morning, and I look forward to seeing you for the rest of the day. Thank you.